Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Talking about the eclipse today. It's eclipse day. As I as I talk to you, it is April 8th. I live in Maine. Maine is on the path of the eclipse totality, meaning there are places in Maine that will see a total solar eclipse today. Um, isn't that's pretty exciting, right? I am not completely on the path of the totality. I have to go pretty far up north for that, but we'll get a near total eclipse this afternoon. That's exciting. There was the last time I remember a solar eclipse a few years ago, a significant solar eclipse wasn't a totality. It was really interesting. I went outside. The birds were going crazy. The animals were going crazy. Um, the shadows that were coming through the trees started getting narrower and narrower and narrower until I could see the shapes of the leaves on the ground. It was really interesting stuff. So today it's going to get really dark. I'm sure everybody knows what a solar eclipse is. That's when the moon moves in front of the sun, and because they are relatively, because of their size and distance from the Earth, they appear to be relatively the same size. So a total eclipse, the moon covers the sun completely. There'll be a little bit of corona around it. So hope to get some pictures. I don't know how that'll work out. I don't know that I've ever photographed an eclipse. I got my where are they? Oh, I better know where they are. Oh, here they are. Got my Eclipse glasses. I won't be wearing them over my regular glasses. Got my Eclipse glasses. These things are so dark. Protect your eyes. Don't look at the eclipse without protection. Don't look at the sun without protection for your eyes, folks. Protect your vision. It's really, really important. So today, I'm going to talk about setting intention. So the eclipse is very special astrologically. I am not an astrologer. I can't go into all of the details of what's going on. And needless to say, it is very special for a lot of reasons. Beyond the astrological alignments, and they're going to talk about it, the eclipse is happening in the house of Aries, and we've got Mercury retrograde and Chiron over here, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. And I just went through a pretty crazy time myself. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to talk about how to set intentions. With the eclipse coming up, we have an opportunity to create some pretty powerful intentions and kind of ride the wave of consciousness of the eclipse, not just the consciousness of the eclipse. Now, if you know me, if you've watched me, if you follow me, I come from a background in shamanism. In shamanism comes out of animism. What is animism? Animism is the idea that everything, very oversimplified description of animism, that everything has a spirit or everything is a spirit. So this cup of coffee is a spirit or has a spirit. So on one level, one way that I like to think about that is everything is emanating from spirit. Everything in our physical world emanates from spirit. And so the sun and the moon have are spirits. They are emanations. There's a physical reality to them, but there's a spiritual reality to everything underneath all of that, right? So um and as human beings, well, everything has a level of consciousness. We're of physical beings, some more than others. We are quite conscious. We have a great deal of consciousness that we can tap into, that we can tune our consciousness, we can become in tune. Animism, I was listening to a great podcast yesterday and they touched on shamanism and animism a little bit. They were talking about chaos magic, which is really a cool topic. And I'll talk about that someday. I'm not a chaos magician per se, but I do like some of the thoughts that come out of chaos magic, things like playing with belief systems and doing a lot of work in the mind and that kind of thing. So, um, we animism allows us to be in relationship with anything, right? I can be in relationship to the earth or in the sky and the stars, be in relationship to animals, I can be in relationship to you, I can be in relationship to TikTok and YouTube. There's even though those things, if you try like TikTok and YouTube are more ephemeral. Yeah, they've got, a corporate headquarters and hardware and software and all of this stuff. But they are more ephemeral spirits because they are uh, highly conceptual, right? So we can be in relationship to all of these things. We can tune into certain energies. We can ride the wave of different energies, and that was sort of a beautiful explanation that came out of this podcast I was listening to yesterday. So thought I would share that with you all. And thank you again if you're just joining. I appreciate seeing everybody here. Um, Good morning to you all. So we're talking about renewal and rebirth. And so on one level, there's a level of symbolism that happens with eclipses as well, and that's important. Symbols are important. Symbols are extremely powerful, right? Think about words. Words are symbols. Words are not the things, they represent the things, right? Some words are nouns and represent actual things. Some words are verbs and represent, actions. Some words are um adjectives, and they describe their qualities, right? So those are all things, and it's very, very powerful. Without words, without speech, without talking, in communication at some level, human beings never would have survived as a species. We survived through cooperative hunting, right? And You know, I don't know if I can, somebody who's knows more about biology than I do can correct me, but I think all living things communicate on some level, right? And communication happens generally through symbols. So, for example, bees, they say bees dance. Bees will fly around in a pattern that will let other bees know where the pollen is, right? Um, Plants communicate through chemical signaling, right? When you cut your grass or, whatever, there's a smell to it. That smell is a chemical signal being given off by grass going, "Oh my God, we're being injured." Trees actually can use mycelial networks, which are fungi that grow between the trees, to communicate and share nutrients. Oh, we're in drought conditions. I will send some extra nutrients and extra. Wow, what's going on with my hair this morning? Jeepers. I need a haircut. That's what's going on with my hair this morning. So symbols are also important. So there's, you know, lots and lots of levels to these things. Too much for me to touch on certainly all of them or even most of them. So the eclipse, um, in 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 our to our ancestors, depending on where you're from, was a pretty scary time, and or could be a pretty scary time. And there were things, there were some cultures that viewed like the sun was being devoured by a dragon or by a serpent or by a wolf or what have you. The sun is the source of life. I can't think of a culture in time that did not have some reverence or even treat the sun as a living god, right? In some, in all of these different cultures, or as part of, like Apollo riding hit that's Apollo's chariot wheel riding across the sky, or Helios, or whoever, right? Um, even even the cult of Mithras, which was a competing sect, a competing religion to Christianity. We don't know everything about it because they didn't write a lot of stuff down, and it was an initiatory religion, meaning you didn't get to participate in it until you were initiated. You had to go through an initiated process, and their temples were underground. And so, what we know about the cult of Mithras is, you know, things that have written about it and what we can dig up from the archaeological record. But part of what they did was to worship Sol Invictus, which is the unconquerable sun, right? And here's an important aspect of the sun, right? From a symbolic spiritual perspective, the sun always shines, right? So the sun, even if it's cloudy out, is shining above the cloud. Have you ever been in a plane, and flown through a storm, and they fly, sometimes are able to fly up above a storm? You'll know, wow, it's rainy and lightning and all the things underneath, and up above it, the sun is shining. Even at night, the sun is shining on the other side of the planet, right? And our sun is a source of life. And so to many ancient cultures, eclipses were scary times because the sun was being blotted out, or devoured by a snake or a demon or a dragon or what have you. Okay. However, the sun is always reborn. We have sunrise, a love sunrise. I love sunsets, but I love sunrise. I'm an early person, I'm an early riser. And so an eclipse happens and the sun gets devoured by the dragon, but then it's reborn, regurgitated, or the dragon lays an egg, and it's the sun again. So the sun is a primary symbol of rebirth, of renewal. And so in that respect, we can use the symbology of sunrise, sunset, and an eclipse, which is very special because it happens very rarely. So there's something about rarity that makes things special, right? If you collect anything, if you collect Hummel figurines or baseball cards or comic books or coins or what have you, um, the rarity of a thing imparts a great deal of value. Its specialness comes from its rarity. I'm drinking Starbucks coffee today. So, so we can use that. We can use the symbolism of rebirth and renewal, and we can use the energy of the eclipse is very powerful, even on a physical level. The sun and the moon are in alignment. It's actually the sun and the moon that causes the tides and all of these things. They're gravitationally pulling on the earth, and so water, on a global level, water actually bulges towards them. So there are alignments that happen. And I apologize, I'm gonna have to walk away for just a second. My dog is whining at me that she needs to go out, trying to avoid any accidents in the house. I will be right back and continue my thought. Hopefully. All right, all right, all right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'm back. Hope I didn't seem to have lost anybody. So thank you for sticking with me while I let my Let my poor dog out. Um, One of the reasons why, besides having the eclipse happening today, so it's an auspicious day. It's a very powerful new moon, right? It's a new moon because the the uh, the moon will be completely dark today because obviously the sun's on the other side of it. A very powerful new moon today, more powerful than most new moons. So it's a good time if you do any shadow work to do that sort of thing. I'm going to talk about setting good intentions. So one of my beliefs, one of the paradigm that I work in spiritually, is that intention drives the bus. And this is something my teacher always said to me: intention drives the bus. Set good intentions. So we can hold, whether you are in the path of the eclipse or not, you need to understand is that there is a global consciousness. So people all along the path of the eclipse, or people aware of the eclipse, all of these things, people are conscious of the thing happening all kind of all at the same time. So there's a wave of conscious energy that will actually, sweep across the globe today for people who are conscious of the eclipse. Lots of people observing it. So it's a good time to ride that wave. It's a good time. You've got the symbolism of the eclipse, you've got the astrological energy going on, the etheric energy going on. There's a lot of things happening underneath it all. Um, so if you are so inclined, if you are a witchy person or practice magic or whatever, if you are a witchy person, today would be an amazing day to do a ritual for Hecate, who is the Greek goddess of witchcraft, triple goddess of witchcraft. Um, would be a beautiful, and rituals normally done to her on a new moon. Very powerful day to do that sort of stuff. But if you're not, no matter what spirituality you practice, or even none, even if you are completely atheistic or what have you, um, totally fine to not do any sort of special ritual or anything. But it's still a powerful time to set intention. Why? Because if I don't believe in any of this spiritual mumbo jumbo, why would I want to? Why would it be a good thing for me to use today to set intention? Well, part of the reason I mentioned was that there's some very heavy symbolism going on. And whether you are atheistic or not, hopefully you understand the idea that symbols are important to human beings. Symbols are important to human beings, and they affect us at a conscious and unconscious level. In fact, our unconscious mind is very metaphoric, allegoric, symbolic, all of those things. We learn through making analogies. Basically, this is like this is like this is like this. So here's an example of that. Here's an example of how we learn, and how we learn things on an unconscious level in every in every culture studied in the world. Now, there aren't a lot of things that are absolutely universal linguistically across cultures. In every culture that we can look at, in every language we can look at, the word or the idea of bigness, something being big or large, is equated with something being important. Why are bigger things more important? Or, generally speaking, hold the connotation of importance than smaller things. Why? Because we were babies. We were all babies once. And it was the big things, the big people, those that were bigger than us, that fed us, that changed us, that took care of us, that gave us love. And so we equate bigness with importance. We have things like the big boss, right? The big bad guy, the big bad wolf, right? Ooh, this is not just the bad wolf, not just the evil wolf, not the tiny evil duckling, but the big bad wolf. And it's not just bad things, but so bigness is symbolic and related to importance. right? Our big boss, the big building, the big car, the big, whatever it is. In and this is true in, in any culture, any language I've ever looked at, right? In Japanese, you had like Ueshiba, who invented Aikido, was known as O Sensei, which means the big teacher. O Sensei, big teacher. The O Daikyo is the big drum. If you've ever watched Daikyo drummers, big drum, O Daikyo. So O, big, also means important or great or, what have you. Great can also mean large, right? Great big. Um, Great Lakes, but it can also mean something as, fantastic. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. It's really big. So this is a demonstration of how we think in symbols, how we think in metaphors, how we think in allegory. We don't th- we very often think that we are literal and objective, and nothing could be farther from the truth. We are none of those things. We are not literal. We are not objective. That's not how our brains work, nor do they need to most of the time. Yeah, if you're doing math equations, you want to be very literal there. But even then, you're using symbols. Even to do like pure mathematics, if you're writing things out or whatever, you're thinking about things, you're using symbols, you're using numbers and letters and Greek letters and, ellipses and all kinds of stuff. So for us to make sense of things, we use symbols. Symbols are important and they can impart a lot of um, stuff into our minds. Think about a horror movie that you may have watched, right? Oh, good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you. Happy you could join. Happy you could all join this morning. We're talking about the eclipse, using it as a symbol of renewal and rebirth, riding the energy, riding the etheric energy, the astral energy, the all of the energies. And instead of teaching a ritual, which might, because I don't know what everybody's views, beliefs, and spiritual systems are, I'm going to talk about intention. Because no matter what you do, setting intention is going to impart meaning, impart that sort of thing. So a really good type of intention, because it's symbolically related. Okay. And we can talk about, I've done stuff before on like what's called sympathetic magic. Sympathetic magic is just the belief that things that are alike share a relationship. And there are lots of explanations for how this might work. But one really important explanation is, on an unconscious level, we are constantly relating things to things, right? So if I hold this up, you undoubtedly would recognize this as a bear, right? But this isn't a bear. This is a figurine of a bear. But we recognize it, right? Because our mind is making that connection. It has the same shape and color. But even if I painted this blue, right, and changed its shape to be more cartoonish, if you see a picture of Yogi Bear, you know that's a bear, or it's a symbol. It represents a bear, because our brains are really amazing at making connections between things, at making things recognize things. It's a survival mechanism for us, right? We know what a saber-toothed tiger looks like. We don't have to relearn every time we encounter, I mean, not that we're encountering them these days, but our ancestors, right, had to know what saber-toothed tigers look like, or they would get eaten. All you gotta do is see it once, and then that's the same kind of thing that ate Dave down by the watering hole last week. I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to live, pass my genes on to the next generation. So the eclipse can be a very powerful symbol of renewal, rebirth. For those who are of an alchemical mind, this is a great um, this is a great, dissolution or nigredo phase. The sun is going to be blackened, right? You know, we're going to reduce the component matter to blackness and then remove the impurities. So I may have to let my dog back in. Just keeping an eye out. I don't see her, but she's gonna she's gonna interrupt me in a moment. So just to let you know up front. Oh, I think she is there. Hold on just a moment. I apologize again. Just gonna let my dog in, and hopefully this will be the sort of last interruption for today. Oh, and by the way, this is a complete aside. Thanks for hanging on if you hung on. By the way, this is a complete aside, but I'm reading this book right now and I absolutely love it. And so I'm going to share it, and it has maybe nothing, maybe everything to do with the eclipse today. But I've got probably a couple thousand books, esoteric books in my collection. Just decided to grab this one and read it. I'll talk about what's been going on from a breakdown. I'm going to talk about Nigredo phase of alchemy and all kinds of stuff in a moment, but it's called Metaphysical Millionaires by author R.J. Purcell. And, it's the subtitle is A Guide to Enlightened Manifestation. I would say I'm about a quarter of the way in. And it has absolutely beautiful explanations so far of quantum physics from a very understandable perspective, the important ideas in quantum physics that relate to consciousness and conscious creation and collapsing the quantum wave. Probably the best description of the double slit experiment, which proved that observation creates a great deal of our reality. If you're into that sort of thing, not too you don't have to be too scientifically minded to read it, but it is you don't have to be as nerdy as I am, say, to read it and enjoy it. But so far, I'm really really liking it. So just wanted to share that. So what's been going on over the past few days with me? So let's talk about a little bit of personal stuff, only because it relates to what's happening today and the work that I'm going to do, the self work or the spiritual work that I'm going to do today. Um, and that has to do with the Negredo phase, the breaking down, the sloughing off of the old. So in alchemy, they would have to the first stages of alchemy, you would, put your material that you are working with in a flask or whatever. Let's say you were working with some plant material or something, and you would heat that and heat that and heat that and heat that until it turned black. And that's the nigredo. It's the blackening phase, right? And you had to do that to break the material down. So in cooking, if you're cooking stuff, particularly protein, there is something called the Maillard reaction that happens when you cook proteins, that the protein molecules are like all wound together. It's why uh, you know raw meat is depending on what it is hard to eat. It's tough, right? You cook it and if you cook it correctly, it gets more tender and delicious. So this reaction as you heat things, particularly if you heat things over time, which is why like barbecue is so good. You're low and slow, right? You're smoking stuff over a long period of time. The protein molecules start to unravel. So there's something going on at a chemical level, right? So alchemists maybe invented barbecue. I don't know. Um, so in alchemy, you've got to break things down kind of the same way, and not necessarily protein, but could be metals. You might have to melt them down. If you're smelting metal, you would melt it and then skim off the I forget what they call it, the slag, whatever it is. off the top. So this applies to everything. This applies to us. Sometimes life breaks us down, sometimes in a big way, sometimes in a small way. People in recovery often talk about having to hit rock bottom before they could get into their recovery phase, right? Their life had to fall apart. In shamanism, this is initiation. This is what initiation is. There's a crisis. There's, your life falls apart. I talked to my teacher one time and I said, you know, uh, I came up with this metaphor for initiation. It's like putting your life into one of those snow globes, right? You know, those snow globes they sell in tourist spots that'll have like, San Francisco. I don't know why San Francisco, but when you shake it up, it's plastic globe and there's little plastic snow in there. It's like putting your life in there and taking that snow globe with your life in it to a hardware store that has one of those paint mixing machines that shakes the crap out of a can of paint. She was like, that's perfect. That's what initiation is. Sometimes it happens in a big way. Sometimes it happens in a little way. So I'll talk about what has happened with me over the past few days. I won't give you every detail. This is not me like dumping my stuff out, but it's related to what we're talking about. So I live in the northeast of the U.S. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the northeast. There was a last week there was an earthquake just outside New York City. Um, you know, uh, all my contacts in New York were like, "What was that? That was an earthquake." Blah blah. Um, so that happened, but we got this crazy weather, right? In April, we got a snowstorm that lasted a couple days. We got, I don't know, so 12, 14 inches of snow, quite a lot of snow, and it was dense, heavy snow. And where I live, people lost electricity. A lot of people lost electricity because trees were coming down, power lines were in the road, whatever. And when that happens on such a wide scale, the power companies they need to bring crews in from out of state. It takes a long time, all kinds of stuff. So I was without power from Thursday morning at about 5 in the morning until last night. So 4 days without power. Some nights the temperature is below freezing. I have a generator. It's not perfect, but it will run my heat and my water and everything. However, my generator runs on gasoline and it will run for about 10 hours and then it needs to be refilled with gasoline. And almost instantly, all of the gas stations had a run on gas and were like out of gas. So we had to like hunt around for gas, and I kept having to go and get more gas. And things like people weren't able to cook, so restaurants, even fast food restaurants, had huge lines. It's just a lot. It's a lot of turmoil. I'm grateful for lots of things. I'm grateful for having a generator and a place to stay and warmth and light and all of those things. It was pretty disruptive, but I'm not complaining. It doesn't happen that frequently. And I know where I live, that's a risk, one of the risks of where I live. And I love where I live. Um, but it was challenging. So I'm out in the snow. So that happens and I'm frustrated, right? I'm frustrated with, oh my gosh, I don't know how long power is going to be out. You can't know, they kept updating, moving the estimated power restoration date and time around, which was challenging. And, I get frustrated. And so frustrations come out and then lots of little things happened along the way. Lots of little kind of unrelated things are happening along the way. So the first thing that happened was the first time I had to go refill my generator, the cap on my gas can wasn't on correctly. It was on at a weird angle. It was dark. It was, I'm standing in a snow banking, and so I go to pour gasoline, and gasoline comes out through the cap and goes all over my snow boots that I'm wearing. And there's, the snow boots I'm wearing have an upper and a lower. So I don't know what you technically call them. There's two pieces that are essentially glued together. Um, the gasoline dissolved the glue in my boot. So my boot completely fell apart while I'm standing in the snow. So that I was like, well, that's weird. That's an odd thing and really frustrating. And then the next morning, I get a phone call from my bank that there's fraud on my bank card and they're canceling my bank card. They're my debit card. And I use my debit card for everything. I don't like to carry credit or credit cards. And I'm like, I need that for gas. Like I can't get my generator filled up if I don't have my debit card. Fortunately, there was a bank open I could go to, and they can print the cards there. So got a new card, and then I don't know, just like there were like 19 or 20 little things like that, sort of minor annoyances that were sort of building up. About the third thing in, I sort of was like, okay, what's going on here? Is there curse energy happening? The typical for curse energy to cause stuff like that to happen. No, I don't think so. I think it's just spirit shaking things up for me, putting my life in a snow globe, literally snow, power out, my snow boot, my bank card, there were a bunch of other things. Oh, there was a headlight out of my car, um, just all kinds of stuff. And so the lesson that, the thing that I took from that was not to wallow, not to get into negativity too much. Um, and I know better because what happens, and this has happened in my life again and again, is a bunch of stuff several things will happen in a row like that. And I'll almost challenge the universe mentally, and I'll go, what more could possibly happen to me? And the universe will go, well, let me show you. Let me demonstrate to you what more can happen to you. And then I'll go, oh my gosh, I invited that in. Right. I'll take responsibility for that. I'll do some cleanup. So getting out of that, I had to do some spiritual work. But this is also the reason why I didn't do a live last week. I didn't have power in my office. Um, you know, I did have power and internet, but it just was a lot. It was a lot of stuff to kind of deal with. Just the drag of it, the wear and tear. There's certain things like there's certain modern conveniences that I'm used to having that don't work when I'm on generator power. Like my stove doesn't work, so I can't cook on my stove. I have to find other ways to prepare food, which is fine. I do that, but my dishwasher doesn't work, so I've got to wash dishes by hand. My clothes washer doesn't work. My washing machine doesn't work. So there are a bunch of things that don't. The I don't have electricity in my bedroom. You know, not a big deal, but uh, you know, I, the other thing I need to do is I need to go in and be grateful for the things that I do have. And being grateful for the things that you do have um, raises your mood and changes your vibration to invite more good things in. And this is a really important concept, right? Like attracts like in spiritual terms. So being grateful for things that happen. So during the snowstorm, I get somebody to plow my driveway. I've got a fairly long driveway and I live out in the middle of nowhere. Um, and my snowplow guy didn't show up. I don't know where he is, what happened. He might have been, because it's April, he might have taken the plow off his truck. He might have been in Florida on vacation. He might have, who knows? Who knows? Plow that guy didn't show up. Got a long driveway, heavy 14 inches of heavy snow. I'm out there shoveling just enough of a path to try to get my car out because I have to get out to get gas for my generator. Right. And I'm like, "Oh, this is no fun." Right? I live next door to a commercial farm. They have a plow guy. The plow guy comes by and he looks at me and he says, he sees me out there shoveling. And he says, "Do you have a plow guy coming by?" And I said, "I don't think so." I'm like, "I don't know where, what's going on with him. I don't know where he is." He's like, "All right." He goes, "I got to work on this." He goes, "If you can move your cars at least, I'll plow your driveway." And I was like, "You're kidding." He's like, "No, no, I'll take care of it." Because it might not be perfect, but I'm like, I don't care if it's perfect or it's better than me shoveling. I can't, I wasn't going to shovel the entire driveway. Shoveled enough to get the cars out. We moved the cars. He came in and plowed for me. What an amazing, like, I love where I live. My neighbors are helpful. I've had like random neighbors stop by that I don't know, just come by and help me. I need to be grateful for that. I told, over and over again, I told the guy, I said, "Can't tell you how grateful I am that you did this. I can't thank you enough for doing this." For him, it was no big deal. He's not paying for the gas. The company's paying for the gas. The truck, it took him a minute and a half to do it. No big deal. But he did it. He didn't have to. He didn't have to take time out of his busy day to do that for me. What a nice guy. What a lovely thing. I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm grateful for you tuning in here today. I'm grateful that I'm grateful that I have a puppy that loves me, even though she can be a pain sometimes. I'm grateful for coffee. I was able to make coffee with power outage. I use a well, it didn't matter what kind of, but I do pour over coffee, but I use an electric kettle, so I didn't have to use my stove to heat up for coffee. And grateful for that. Grateful for my kids. My kids ran out and got me dinner a couple nights, so I didn't have to figure out how to cook things. And I do have ways of cooking some things without using the stove. So very, very grateful. But so there's lessons there. There's lessons to be learned. There's life lessons. A lot of things sort of like breaking down. You get into kind of a negative phase. Sometimes we have to go through. I've been through enough hitting rock bottom in my life to sort of not to have to invite that in again before I can, look at what's going on in my life and go, "Oh, this is a little like a little mini initiation. Like there's a lot of really challenging crap happening right now." So let's talk about setting and holding really good intention for the eclipse today. And like, I don't think if you're not, obviously, if you're on the path of the eclipse, the totality of the eclipse, you've had a few crazy days lately. Yeah. So I would say yes. So I would say that life is probably pushing you to let go of some things. I would say I am not an astrologer. Let me say, like, I know very, very little about astrology, but I know there's a lot of really weird stuff going on. So Mercury's in retrograde till like the 25th of April, something like that. And I know, like, whenever they say that, mechanical stuff breaks down and there's all kinds of stuff, so we're kind of globally going through a little thing. And yeah, we can use this as a sign or a symbol or as a time and opportunity. Let's look at it that way. This is an opportunity. Today is an opportunity to set some intention and let go of some stuff. When you let go, you have to let go of things to be renewed and reborn. You cannot go into a new life without dying to the old. This doesn't mean you have to give up everything, become an ascetic or whatever, but there are some things in your life that maybe it's time to let go of and set an intention to do that, whatever those are for you. So let's talk about setting intentions. Intention drives the bus. I don't care what I don't care what you're doing. If you're praying, if you're meditating, if you're doing a shamanic journey, if you are using entheogens, if you are, you know, they always say set and setting. Set is mindset. Your mindset, hopefully, if you're conscious of it, carries your intention. I am going to have a good experience of this, or I am going to let go of things. This is a great opportunity to let go of things that aren't serving you. What isn't serving you? You've got to do some introspection. What's causing you continual emotional turmoil? What patterns are you living out in your life that are not serving you? Where do you feel where do you feel want or lack? Here's a metaphysical secret. Here's the I don't mean to be too facetious about this, and I didn't write this or come up with this principle. The secret to having everything you want is to want nothing. If you want nothing, you will always have what you want. Now, that doesn't mean give up on your hopes and dreams. It's a little bit of a cheeky phrase, but a little bit of a cheeky idea. However, it is there is a spiritual truth there in that you know, we don't gain things by grasping. We gain things by releasing, by letting go, right? You can ruin, if you're doing some sort of magical work or manifestation work, I think they're the same thing. I use the term magic very loosely to include things like prayer, manifestation work, law of attraction, ritual, shamanic work. However, if you're trying to manifest something into your life that you want is a really like, and you're constantly, oh my God, I need this. Oh my God, I need this. You're holding the energy of lack. The word want and the word lack mean the same thing. For want of a blah, meaning for lack of a. When we use the word want, we often think of it as just desire. I desire this. But holding the energy of want is holding the energy of lack. And so let's say it is my intention to holding an intention is very different. It is my intention to manifest $1 million. All right. Let's say that that's true. The oh my God, I want $1 million. Oh my God, I want $1 million. I'm suffering. I'm lacking. I need this, I need that, I need the new car, I need the new house, I need the new relationship, I need love, I need, you know, holding on to need, want, um, is holding on to that lack energy, and that lack energy will inform your life circumstances, right? So learn to let go, and the eclipse is a perfect opportunity to that. So let's talk about setting intention. Let's talk about good intentions. What are good intentions? Um, Intentions for yourself start usually with the word I, and I think like crafting an intention statement is really useful, working on it till it feels really good to you, and writing it out. Oh my gosh, writing it out. I cannot stress how powerful a metaphysical tool writing things out is, particularly intentions or manifestations, petitions, all of these things, right? Writing them out. What is your intention? What are you doing right now? So let's a good intention for the eclipse day, and it doesn't matter if you're in the path of totality or if you just want to ride the energy of the world observing the eclipse today. um I intend to let go, or you don't even have to say I intend to. I let go. What are you going to do? That's your intention. I let go of want. I let go of the feeling of lack. I let go of these behavior patterns. I let go of whatever. What are you letting go of? What are you choosing to let go of? How powerful is that? How powerful is it to understand that letting go is a choice, right? We often get into trouble because we feel or we have created an artificial belief that we don't have control over what affects our lives. We have an illusion of the lack of control. That is a want or a lack of control. You need to let go of the lack of control so that you can have control, or that you already have control, but so that you experience that you have control. Yes, I know that things happen in your life that you don't have control over. I cannot, or I haven't tried, and I wouldn't try to control the weather. I had no control over when the power came back on in my house. I have no control over, um, you know, what some people choose to do, right? Some individualized parts of me. I have control over how I handle it. I have control over my reaction to it. I have control over my response. That's a lot of control. Control over my own suffering. I do have someone is asking, I have a very hard time letting go. Do you have any advice on letting go? The best advice I can give about letting go is a understand that letting go is a choice, right? Um, and I'm going to give you a book and potentially a movie, and I will give you all kinds of advice about letting go. So hang on, don't go anywhere. Um, so this is an exercise I learned from Hale Dwoskin, who wrote the book The Sedona Method. Read the Sedona Method. I don't get paid for endorsing the Sedona Method. I have read the Sedona Method. I've given this the book I have given away more copies of than any other book. Um, there is a movie called Letting Go. You may cost $10, or you may even be able to find it for free online somewhere. I'm not sure. You can go online to, I think it's sedona.com. Uh, but it's called the Sedona Method, and it is all about letting go. And there are multiple methods of letting go. But this is something that I learned. I actually went out to Sedona and studied with Hale, and studied with him in New York as well, and have taken courses from them. And there is an audio course. Used to be back when I did it a mazillion years ago. It was a stack of CDs. I'm sure it's probably online. If you're so inclined, the book is about $15. The I don't know what the audio course is or whatever, but you can learn how to do what they call releasing, which is letting go. You can learn most of it online, probably for free. Go check out their resources on. But here's the thing. So you can follow along if you want, and you have a pen. So you hold this pen, and this pen represents emotions, right? About something, or in general, whatever. And we hold this in our hand and we squeeze onto this tightly. And at first, this feels really uncomfortable, right? Squeezing it really tightly feels really uncomfortable. And then eventually, what happens is I lose the idea that this pen is not a part of my hand. It starts to feel really natural, and it feels like it's a part of my hand. It feels like it's a part of me. And what I forget sometimes is that I can just do this, right? And just do that anytime I choose. Wow, that feels a lot better. But our emotions and our attachments to things and our aversions to things are the same way. They aren't you. Your emotions aren't you. They're states. They may be physiological or intellectual or whatever, but they aren't who you are. You observe them, you're aware of them. Good morning. Oh, yes, my coffee is pretty darn good today. I usually yes, happy Monday and solar eclipse to you. Yeah, I usually do a pretty good job with my coffee. A lot depends on the grounds I use, of course, but um, I, I'm a tiny bit of a coffee nerd, and so I've got the Chemex and the filters and the whole deal, and I get the water at just the right temperature. A lot of how coffee tastes depends on the temperature of the water you use. You do not want to use boiling water unless you're using a percolator. But you don't generally want to use boiling water for coffee. You want it a little bit cooler than that because it boiling water takes a lot of the acidity from the beans and makes the coffee bitter. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off in the coffee direction, but so I just recommended the book or the video or the website or the course, however you want to approach it, the Sedona method for letting go of things. And there are, I think they're up to like 5 different methods of letting go. Ah, okay, excellent. And oh, and the nice thing is, because you just ordered it, you'll get the there. So I have the first edition of this book. After the I also have a new edition of the book. I have multiple copies of the book, and I keep giving them away. And I got to make sure when I give them away, like I have one that's autographed by Hale. I don't want to give that one away. Maybe I should. Maybe that would be letting go. Sonoma Method is absolutely beautiful. It is a book I've read over and over again every few years or so. It has helped me out in my life so much. So, kind of a funny story. I got really into the Sedona method. I was reading the book, I took the courses, I decided I wanted to go out to Sedona and do a training, do a course. Um, and I was married at the time, and I'm not talking crap about my ex-spouse. Never do that. This is not any kind of insult. This is just a characteristic. She is very type A personality, super organized, knows when her checkbook is her bank statement is 3 cents off, that sort of thing. Very wound up, very tight, right? Um, Again, not talking crap, not an insult. She's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful mom. Just very different personality from I have. So we fly out to so she decides she's gonna take this course with me. And Sedona, if you've never been there, is a very hippie place, very new agey, lots of love and light and all this sort of thing going on. The whole town is full of artists and new age people and UFO people and all this stuff. So we go out there, we take this course, and there are quite a few people there that have taken a number of courses and know each other. And so there are a lot of people like hugging each other and when we first get there. And she looks at me, she goes, "Nobody better try to hug me. I don't want anybody trying to hug me. This is, I'm like, you don't have to hug anybody. This is just, whatever. Some people are huggers, some people aren't, whatever. Don't worry about it. It's not part of the thing that you need to hug each other." Um, about 3 days in, we had to call, "Hello, here's my puppy. She needs attention. You need attention. Hello." Um, she We had to call some friends of ours. And so she calls my friend and gets on the phone with him and talks to him. And we've been doing this training for a couple days at this point. And I get on the phone with him. He goes, "Look," he goes, "I don't know what your wife is taking, but I want some of that. I have never heard her so calm and so relaxed and so just under control in the entire time that I've known her." By the end of the however many days, 5 days or whatever it was we were there, she was hugging everybody. Now, it's not some hippie mind control cult. It's not a cult at all. You don't go join anything. You don't, whatever. It's a series of techniques for doing this deep emotional releasing work. Along with that, there is a significant amount of manifestation that goes hand in hand with that. They don't focus on that a whole lot in the Sedona Method book. I believe there's some processes for using releasing to achieve goals. But yeah, so if you've ordered the Sedona Method book, you're going to learn all about Lester Levinson, an amazing spiritual teacher. But I hope you enjoy the book, and again, it's the one I recommend. It's the book I've recommended and given away the most. I used to, believe it or not, I used to publish a fashion magazine many years ago, fashion and lifestyle magazine. And so we had a sales team that would go out and sell ads. That's how we made money. And I gave I gave the I gave the members of our sales team the Sedona method because I wanted them to loosen up quite a bit. And also, be able to talk to people from relaxed perspective. If you've ever had a desperate, a salesperson desperate to make commission, like get really pushy with you, that turns a lot of people off. That turns a lot of people off rather than somebody who can be completely relaxed with you and doesn't, not that they don't care, they care about you and they can take you through a consultative sales process and that sort of thing. Not here to do sales training, but anyway, I have been talking for a little over an hour. I need to go and start the rest of my day. So well, I'll leave you with this. Set some good intentions for the eclipse today. Ride that energy. It'll be very powerful. It'll be powerful on a symbolic level, on an energetic level, on an etheric level. When you get a bunch of people focused on the same thing at the same time, you can kind of ride that wave of energy. You can do that with big events too, like the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl, or things like that, the Oscars, the Emmys, the whatever, um, is not the energy of those things is not as celestial. We'll put it that way. This is celestial. This is big energy of the sun, big energy of the moon. Um, Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you have a good day as well. I apologize I couldn't do one of these last week. It was just too much with the power outage and everything else. But um everybody have a great day. Enjoy the eclipse. Do it if you're in the path of the eclipse, make sure you're, viewing it safely. Nobody gets any eye damage here. My love to you all. I will try to do another one of these later in the week. This is a special episode. Take care.